Hi everyone, my name is Shamananda and I am here today with Chef Witney Aronoff of the famous, of the elite, of the incredible, the chef extraordinaire. How you doing today, Whitney?
I'm wonderful because I get to connect with you this evening. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm good. I'm good. It's been an interesting day out here in sunny California. Just weather's starting to get a little bit better. We're not The wind now is creating a problem on the road, but other than that, we're doing okay over here, I think. What were you up to today?
Yeah, so I feel like January has been wild. I feel like the energy has been very busy, intense. Everyone is activated in like full force versus I feel like other Januaries where people step into the new year a little more slowly, a little more peacefully with no rush. So today was just another jam-packed day. I wrote all my clients' meal prep menus. I worked on the High Vibration Living podcast and scheduling some really amazing upcoming guests. I spoke on Marilyn Diaz's High Vibration 21 Day Detox Reset. I'm helping her out with a bunch of people in her program. I'm teaching them about eating whole foods. And then before I jumped on the call with you, I got my new stem cell patches in the mail
Woo! How
and I stuck them on right before our call.
does
And
that feel?
it feels amazing. It feels like incredible. It's calm but activating energy. And when you receive the patches, I'm doing two different type of patches right now. I'm doing a stem cell patch and a stem cell anti-inflammatory patch because, as you know, I've been trying to work on some chronic inflammation. So I'm taking two different types of patches, and each patch has different areas on the body that you can put it. I put it in two places that are kind of most discreet. Now, you have to wear the patches for 12 hours every day. So you can wear the patches in the evening while you sleep or during the day while you work. I'm going to experiment and put them on every evening and then while I sleep. I have one on the back of my neck and one on my lower back. And you feel a lot of energy, a little tingling, a little activation, but at the same time, it's like calming and at ease and like a piece of something that was missing. And what these patches are supposed to do is activate your own stem cells in your body so you start making more stem cells.
Okay, so because there's a lot of different types of stem cells in the body, my question is, how does it? What stem cells does it start to reproduce for you, or heal, or and how does that work exactly? Do you know?
That's a great question. I will have to ask the doctor that I'm working with on this. But the doctor that I am working with, oh, I'm pumped. I just moved the book. She also sent me this book to start reading about new frequency medicine and all the different types of frequency medicines that are out there now that's helping to heal us in alternative ways. But I will let you know. I'll have to get back to you on the actual which stem cells within you that it's activating. I do know that the results you see from the stem cell patches differ depending on your age. So whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, that will determine how many months it will take for you to start seeing results.
Oh, I see. Well, because there are different types of diseases that people have that really do require stem cells. In order
Yeah.
once they kill off their stem cells, if they don't, there's not a lot of options right now. There are beginning to be a few, but if these patches are actually capable of regeneration when it comes to, I shouldn't call it regeneration, adding stem cells, because once your stem cells are die off or are killed off, then you can't reproduce them. They're just dead. They're gone, and you can't populate more. So you get to add more somehow. So if these patches are adding stem cells to your body, and if for some reason they are able to discern where in your body you need the cells, then I think that's something that people would really want to know about. I know that my mother, as an example, has COPD. So with COPD in the lungs, for those of you that don't know, uh, a bunch of your stem cells in your lungs are dead and they can't regenerate. So people with COPD have a difficult time absorbing oxygen because those cells are no longer there and they get to only use the cells that are left. So it makes it very difficult to get all the oxygen that they need. So they often end up on oxygen tanks when they sleep and they carry them around with them. So if it's the case of being able to put on a patch, and if the stem cells are able to go to wherever in the body needs it the most, that would be great. But we don't really know, or do we?
No, that is what's happening. So I learned this from Dr. Lindsay Rangel. Dr. Lindsay Rangel, I just interviewed on my podcast, the High Vibration Living podcast, but her episode on this, I think, is going to come out at the end of April. And we were talking about stem cells because we were talking about all the different frequency medicine that is out there, this technology that's really producing like incredibly fast results for people that just most people don't know about is out there as an alternative. And she's a traditional trained surgeon. She worked at the Cleveland Clinic for many years. And her father ended up being a patient at the Cleveland Clinic while she was in residency. And it was through that experience with having her dad in the hospital that actually made her step away from being a surgeon and start to get into doing practices with alternative frequency medicine, because she thinks that's really the future of healing is. And we were talking about stem cells, whether they're really worth it. For instance, if someone has a shoulder therapy, they're often told the best thing to do if they want to avoid surgery is just to go and get stem cells shot in the shoulder, and that's going to help them. Well, what Dr. Lindsay shared with me is the way the government has set up its rules in regards to medicine, the quality stem cells that you're going to get if you get those shots in the United States is very low. It's a very poor quality. She told me it's not worth the money, that you really have to leave and go to another country to get those stem cells to get a quality that's going to make a difference. But she said, like with all medicine, with all adjustments in the body, slow and steady wins the race. And from all the research she's done, from all the patients she's worked with, she says the best results she has seen is working with people that use these patches over 6 months, 8 months to a year. They get slow, consistent, long-term results versus the people that just go and get the shot.
Oh my gosh. Oh
So
my.
I thought that was really interesting. And so that's why I went ahead and am doing the patches with her. And we are going to be doing the patches. I'm going to be doing them for 3 months. And then we're going to do a check-in call and a podcast episode to talk about what I've seen. She says what I should expect to see is more hair growing in everywhere, thicker hair, because the healthier your body gets, the healthier your hair gets. And then I should obviously start to see inflammation go away, aches and pains go away. And what the stem cells, these patches do, which is very similar to the stem cells or an experience that you may have if you do hyperbaric oxygen chamber, is the medicine's going to go to the spot wherever it's needed first. So
Right.
you may think it's your shoulder, you may think it's your lungs, but it could be something else, and that's where the medicine's going to go first. So what I decided to do and what she suggested is wherever the pain is in your body or wherever the root cause of the pain is in your body, that's where you put the patches. Now, each type of patch comes with directions of 5 or 6 spots on the body that it recommends it going. And so from there, you best identify the spot that works for you. So, there was a spot for me to put it on my hand, but I didn't want to put it on my hand because I have to wash my hands all the time.
Right.
I'm a chef. I'm always working with them. Even if I'm going to bed, there's never really a 12 hours in the day or night where I'm not having to wash my hands. So
Mm.
I decided to do one spot on the back of my neck since I've been having tons of tension here. And since I carry so many groceries and so much of my emotions on my shoulders. And then the other spot I did is my way lower back, which of course affects the hips and the thighs and the buttocks, lower back, abs. So those are the 2 spots I chose that I'm going to be doing for the next few weeks. So we'll see.
So back to the original question that I had in regards to the stem cells and where so if somebody had COPD as an example, uh, if it's more of an organ stem cell replacement that you're at least hoping for, does it matter? I mean, where would you put that on the body? I mean, if it's the lungs, I mean, I don't imagine putting it superficially on the chest would support because there's a rib cage there. I'm not sure. I mean, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. I'd have to take the recommendations from a doctor and what this company recommends.
Okay, cool. What is the name
Yeah.
of the company?
Um, I will get that to you. If anyone's interested, I can put you in touch with Dr. Lindsay. She'd be the best person for you to speak to about the this. Why am I blanking on the name now?
Stem cell therapy?
The patches, yeah.
Patches.
So I will put you in touch with Dr. Lindsay so she can fill you in on them. And then if anybody else is interested, just comment below in this live and let me know the best way to reach out to you, and I'll follow up with you and put you in touch with her.
That would be great. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm interested in ordering some probably for my family just out of sheer hope and curiosity because there's not a lot of options for people who have certain types of ailments. And if you found a place that has been able to source high quality stem cells, the types that you're not going to be getting here in America, then, or even maybe Canada, that it might be very difficult, then, that would be definitely something that I know quite a few people would like to try. So
Yeah, there's a few places in Mexico that that family friends have been going to heal from sports
injuries.
injuries that I can find out for you. I'll put you in touch with Dr. Lindsay because with these patches, there's many different types. So I'm starting with the 2 basic types, but there are a large variety depending on what your issue is. That's why it's so much better to work with someone to figure out what you want to order.
Oh,
And like with everything, you need to start with a base and then adjust over time. So I'll make sure you guys are in touch. You can talk about your personal needs, you can talk about your mom's needs, and you guys can go from there and get them ordered.
wow, that's really cool. So I don't know why I assumed it was just one type of patch
Yeah.
but it sounds like there's different types depending on, that's really cool.
Yeah, I think there's
That makes
almost
more sense too, because you have so many different types of stem cells in the body. Why would it just be one type of patch? It's not
yeah, I
logical.
think there's like about 10 different types.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. So
Yeah,
that's
I hope
really
that
cool.
helps. And I just love when I learn about alternative therapies that aren't necessarily quick fixes, but they do support the body and make changes over time. Because, like with everything, things that move slowly in an upward direction are going to last the longest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. And and that was the podcast that is that the one you just recorded?
Yeah, we recorded it just a few days ago. I can't wait for you guys to listen. It's all those alternative therapies where you keep hearing that there's all these new machines and therapies and frequency energy and Tesla energy that's out there that's going to save us all and heal the world. But like, what are they actually? Which one's better? Which ones do you have to go to a licensed therapist to experience? And then what are the ones that you can have at home? Because there's a lot of these frequency machines that you can have at home. A lot of them do the same thing, but a lot of them are distributing different amounts of frequency. So there's ones that are more worth your money than others.
Right.
And I wanted, I've been hearing all these names. I wanted the truth about them. Which one's worth the investment? What's the results that I should expect if I do make that investment? I find this stuff fascinating.
Well, and one example is and this is a little bit more controversial in the way of, because there are definitely machines out there that do not work well, and there are ones that do. So we're talking about the cellular detox foot baths. That's Tesla's design, as opposed to the ones that you might find in a cheap massage parlor. Where, and they say, oh, look at all the stuff that your feet are detoxing, but they're not using the wristband with the electrode, and they're not using, the right kind of hardware to even support with. It's just not the right machine. So, and I know that you have one of those. I have actually one of those as well. And for my clients, on occasion, I'll even invite them out to my house so that they can enjoy a foot bath, and I'll hang out with them for the day, and I might cook them some food or something. But it's interesting the types of things that you can get at home that are actually quite phenomenal, that will really revolutionize the body. And Tesla came up with some really interesting concepts, didn't he, Witney?
Yeah, I think the Tesla coil is very fascinating, and that's a lot of what's in these machines. There's just all these different names because all these different people use the coil to create a frequency medicine. Just some are administering more than others. And it just depends on what you need, and how much change you want to get. I just thought it was really interesting. So I'll throw out a few of the names that I talk about on the podcast. We talk about the Healy machine, we talk about the amp coil, and then we talk about something called the Tesla coil, and the Tesla coil machine. So they kind of all do the same thing, but do it a little bit differently, and some have a stronger frequency than others. So just wanted the truth on all the different types of products so I can make the best decision on what I want to bring into, my own little health salon here.
Absolutely. So you wanted to try the Tesla machine, the coil?
Well, I've always wanted to try the amp coil. I've heard a lot of good things about that. And then I've always wanted to try the Healy machine as well. And there's a few others that are like the Healy machine out there, that I've been hearing different people talk about. And I just wanted to know what was different between them, what's the same as them, which one's worth purchasing. So basically, if people aren't familiar with these, is let's say you have a parasite, or you have candida, or you have some sort of rash on your body. You would take this machine and, attach it to yourself, lay down and relax for anywhere from 30 minutes to 45 minutes to an hour. And you would put it on the setting for parasite, candida, whatever your ailment is. And so that frequency is going to start to eliminate the low vibration frequency that is creating that dis-ease. And by doing this frequency medicine over a certain number of times, it'll get rid of the candida, it'll get rid of the parasite. Now, of course, you still can't eat McDonald's and expect the frequency medicine to work. You have to meet the frequency medicine where it is and live a life that supports the work you're putting into it. So you still need to eat real whole foods. You still need to live a health supportive lifestyle. And then the frequency medicine is supported and can clean and clear away a variety of ailments. Now, what I learned was just some of the frequency machines are stronger, and so they'll work faster. And then what I also learned is some of the machines can scan you and help you figure out what you should work on first, second, third, fourth. Whereas the others, it's Russian roulette. You're just trying to figure out what you need to do on your own.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's really amazing. And so you're talking about parasites, and there's a lot of different types of, and parasites in the body are actually a really big deal. I know a bunch of different people in the medical community, and they all had mentioned to me at one point or another that they think it should be a yearly regimen to do a parasitical cleanse of the body, and just really get that out. I don't think people understand what happens inside, and how often people get these little parasites that they should be cleansing on a regular basis. And it's not. It just should be a part of your yearly routine, or even twice a year. Get in there and really start cleaning things out, while maintaining a healthy lifestyle. at the same time.
Yeah, I would actually like to make that a part of my yearly routine, but I find it a little bit intimidating and I find it challenging just because I've heard so many different ways to do parasite cleanses
Hmm.
that I'm almost unsure of which one to choose. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Well, and there's some really out, no, I wouldn't say out there because I don't think it's out there, but some people might think it's a little bit like, oh, I don't think I can do that kind of thing. But there was one where it was fermenazole, and it had to do with a cancer cure involving turmeric and vitamin. I believe it was vitamin E, and it's just the fermenazole is just the active ingredient. It's non-toxic to humans. It doesn't taste like anything. It's just this white powder, and you know, it's part of the reason why it was used as a cancer cure, and how hundreds and thousands of people it really supported them with their cancer is because cancer is a parasite, and for certain types of cancers it really worked very well. And I personally knew of several people where it ate away at their cancer, and they went right into a remission, with that specific regimen. And all they did was 3 times a week they would take this dog dewormer, and they would drink it with just because it doesn't taste like anything, so it wasn't hard to swallow or anything, and they'd take their vitamins, and then it's the cancer that they had started to disappear. But it's also good for parasites, obviously parasites in the body, other than just things like cancer, but other parasitical diseases should be considered along. It has been seen as supportive. Now, I'm just talking out my butt here, though, because this is research that hasn't been documented through science or anything like that. This is just through what people have been talking about. So take everything that I say with a grain of salt. It just depends on how you feel about research and it being valid. So I'm certainly not trying to be the end all and be all authority on this kind of thing. I'm just sharing what I've learned about parasite cleanses. And so that one's on the harder core end, and I've tried it myself, and I can tell you that it works extremely well. It's kind of a funny. It does something funny to the mind, of course, but at the same time, just a little bit. You notice that your perception slightly changes while the cleanse is going on, and then when you go to the bathroom, you're eliminating all kinds of fun things. So keep that in mind. But there's also other types of cleanses too. You can do. You talk about the liver. Is it the liver packs? The
Oh, I love my castor oil packs. I did one last night. If you need a good night's sleep, if you're struggling with sleep, do a castor oil pack over your liver. You will sleep like a baby.
So how do you do that? Because I've never done it, and I don't even really know what that looks like.
Oh, I'll stand up and show you. But first, I want to tell you guys about the parasite cleanse that I've done. Done it a few times with success. Um, and it's the juice cleanse, colonic, and essential oils. Have you done that one?
I haven't. No.
Okay. So I work with Jeannie of Waters of Life Cleansing in Costa Mesa. She's a colon hydrotherapist, and she's been doing this for over 40 years. I think she's in her 50s, and she's actually been doing this cleanse since she was a child. Her dad was very into cleansing and health and wellness. And so the cleanse is 10 days long, and you are on green juice for 10 days. And then what you're also doing is 5 times a day, you're mixing bentonite clay with psyllium husk and a little juice and mixing it up and drinking it. And the psyllium husk and the bentonite clay are binding together and moving through your colon and clearing everything out and pulling everything off the colon that's old and stale from years ago and taking it out. And
No.
then at the same time, you're taking 3 different types of essential oil tonics. So you're taking wormwood, walnut, and one other. You guys can Google it online. You can see the 3 essential oils, the 3 oils that you take to eliminate parasites. And so because the colon in the body is so clean, by adding those drops in 3 times a day, it kills anything that's left in the colon, any parasites that are left there. And then by doing the colonics every day too, to get out the bentonite clay, the psyllium husk, you're getting any parasites that are ready to exit, flushing on out. And it's 10 days long, but you feel amazing afterwards.
Did you, so it wasn't just, so you felt amazing, but did you notice the elimination of any parasites? Could you visually see anything? Because that's the first thing that I'm curious about.
You know what? The first time I did the cleanse, my colon hydrotherapist believed that they saw a few, but you never really know unless you actually test. And so, colon hydrotherapist does have the ability to pull things, to stop the machine, pull things out, take that sample and send it in if you really want it. I never felt the need to do that. But they believed that they saw quite a few parasites coming out. This was years ago, so it seemed like it from my end, but I agree with you that when you do these parasite cleanses, it is a wild mind game. And there are days where you're crystal clear, and there are days that you're super muddy and disoriented, just because your body's going through a deep cleaning and detox. It's wild. But you come out the other end completely crystal clear,
Yes.
brighter and lighter than you were before.
Oh, absolutely. So for myself, it was very much, the dreams got really intense, and it just, it's a perception shift. It's completely different from, it's different, and it's almost like microdosing. So if you're going to microdose psilocybin, it's a slightly different perception of what you usually have, and you can feel it's almost like an expansion. So, but it's very common with parasitical cleanses because of, it gets, everything that's happening is washing through your brain too. I mean, it's not just through your colon or even through your blood in some cases, and not all parasites can be seen by the naked eye. So that's really important to remember too. So if you end up doing a parasite cleanse and you're eliminating and you're looking in the toilet and you're thinking, well, I don't see anything, it doesn't mean there's nothing there. Even with your pets. So if there's certain types of parasites that they have to test the stool, because it's like not all are visible by the naked eye. Some of them are very tiny, but they're still creating a lot of problems. And it's the same with us. So we have the same types of problems. So it's important for us to go through the cleanse too. But yeah, it does something funny to your mind. And but that you feel like $1 million after. You feel like you're born again. It's so incredible.
And when you do these parasite cleanses, or just on a regular basis, you can do the castor oil packs. And I do them on a regular basis. I like to try to do them twice a week, because it just helps restore minerals in your body. So if you're super dehydrated, if you aren't sleeping well, if you aren't having regular bowel movements, a castor oil pack is great for you. So what you need is to order organic castor oil in a glass bottle. And then what I like to use is a wrap by a company called Queen of Thrones. If you don't want to buy one of their wraps, they're about $40 on Amazon, then you have to buy some organic cotton flannel. And then you have to have a bunch of towels, old towels or wraps, to then wrap around you to hold that flannel towel in place where you're going to put the castor oil. I'm going to stand up and show you kind of how it works. But basically, your liver's right here. And basically you put the castor oil on your wrap that you get. And you place about a tablespoon of the castor oil on the wrap. And then you put the wrap around your body right on the liver. So where the oil is on the wrap, it goes right there. You tie it up around you. And then you put a heating pad on you. And you just hang out for an hour and let that castor oil really soak into your body. And then you climb into bed and go to sleep, and you're out like a light. And the other place you can do it, if you don't want to do your liver, is you can do it on your spleen. So you can just lay down on the floor or on your bed.
Can you show them where the spleen is?
Yeah, so all you would do is just lay down on your back, and you would put it across your lower back. And The tough thing though with the castor oil is the castor oil will stain absolutely everything you wear. So you need to have old t-shirts, old sweatpants, old towels, old sheets, things that you aren't worried about getting stained, getting sticky, because it will leave marks. Don't wear your favorite sweatshirt. You know, if you're going to lay on the couch, make sure you lay down towels and sheets, because it can get messy. But that's what stopped me from doing these castor oil packs for years. For years, health practitioners, holistic practitioners told me I needed to do this for my liver, and I wouldn't do it because it was just sounded so complicated and messy. And then I was talking with Paris Hodges. Paris Hodges is a great health coach. If you guys want to check her out on Instagram, it's Paris Hodges with 2 R's in Paris. And she suggested I tried the Queen of Thrones wrap. And it is so easy. It makes you feel so good. It's, I would say, probably one of the best things I incorporated into my life last year that I'll do forever.
That's amazing. I'll have to try it. So, and you say that the reason why it works so well is because the castor oil saturates. You're right.
Yeah.
The castor oil saturates into your epidermis, into your skin, and then somehow gets to your liver. And once it gets to your liver, it starts to support with the detoxification of your liver. Is that how it works? Just so that I'm
clear. And it also remineralizes your body. So I think a lot of us forget how minerally depleted we are because we aren't eating whole foods, nutrient dense foods, minerally rich foods. So the castor oil is really doing 2 things. It's nourishing and detoxing certain organs, but it's also remineralizing your body.
Interesting. Wow, that's really cool. So
Paris recommended it to me for remineralizing the body, not for detoxing the liver. Whereas other practitioners in the past recommended it to me to detox the liver. So you really get 2 benefits from it. And I promise you guys, it feels like a warm hug. It really deeply relaxes you. And there's no way that I can explain the quality sleep that you get when you do a liver oil pack. It is deep, deep sleep. I highly, highly recommend.
Wow. I'm excited about trying it. That's really cool.
And you can't overdo it. You could do it every night if you wanted. You
can
do it 3 nights a week. You can do it 1 night a week. You can't do it enough. It's great.
Wow. That's, and it reminds me of the cellular ionization too of the foot baths too, where it's it's the releasing of the cellular junk and flowing out through your feet into the water through electricity through the it's incredible what
it's the best feeling at the end. It's like once you do it at the end of the hour, you feel so much lighter. I always feel that feeling like a big good sigh. I feel so much lighter, and I always think to myself, I need to be doing this more often. I only do it once a week, but every time I do it, I'm like, oh my God, I should be doing this more often. I feel so good.
Yeah, exactly. But if you guys are going to try it, you guys got to use the machines that are actually real, because there's some bad machines out there and there's some good machines. So it's a foot bath basically. So you would be putting your feet in, hopefully warm water so your feet aren't freezing. And inside of, so the water would be covering your feet. Usually a little bit of salt is put in the water, but not always, depending on the salt that's already in the water that you're putting into the bath. And then there is a machine that has, if it's the right kind of machine, it's going to have 2 different elements. One is this coil that is put into the water in between your feet that supports in the electricity that's going to be pulling the cellular junk into the water, and the other is an electrode that you put on your wrist to get the electrical current flowing through your body, so things start releasing and flowing outwards. So it's Tesla's design, and it helps support with releasing cellular junk. So it's a really great machine to have if you can, and you can find them online. So if anyone actually wants one, just let me know, and I can actually just send you a link, or I can post a link or something like that. But it's
Yeah, ours is the Gencell Ion Foot Detox, and we bought ours through Wayne Pittner. So if you guys just leave a comment below, we can make sure Shamananda puts you in touch with Wayne, so you can order the right one.
Yeah, yeah. Wayne's a good guy. Wayne's a good guy. He makes really great machines. So we were talking a little bit about parasites in the body. I kind of want to talk a little bit about parasites that attach to the auric field as well on a spiritual.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so it's not just about, we get to deal with parasites all the way around, not just when we consume food. Are we eating the right kind of food? Is the water that we're drinking clean? Is it going to have something in it that's going to start living in there and propagating and stuff like that? How do we get it out? So if we're looking at all four bodies of our creation, which is the spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical, then we get to think about parasitically how to cleanse all four. And so the physical we just talked about, which is really important. And then the spiritual is one that people get really confused about, because there's a lot of really bad psychics out there that will make up these almost like elementary kids school ideas about what's hanging on to you, and you're cursed. You're cursed, and only I can get it off for you, and it's going to cost you $5,000 and all that BS. Okay, it's
happened to me.
Yeah.
But I feel like those people are actually gypsies that are selling that story to you, from my experience. They aren't psychics. They're more of people that are in the gypsy movement. But I've had multiple people try to sell me down that river.
Right. And the problem is that a lot of people fall for it. And I've had so many times I've had people, come into my office or text me or email me, and they're telling me the story about how people are trying to, or they're saying, listen, I'm cursed. They said I have something attached to me and I'll die if I don't get it off, and only they can do it, and it costs this much money and I don't have it. But then I sold my washing machine to, it's a very sad story. But it's not that simple. what the story that these psychics are telling you, these gypsies, as Witney, I agree with you, it's more of a gypsy way of thinking. It's not just because people will tell you a story doesn't mean they're the ones that can extract it. As an example, people will go to somebody like a shaman to extract entities, and I'm always very, very cut and dry about, I don't BS with people. If something is on someone, which sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't, I'll be honest. And if it's not, I'll be honest. It's like there's nothing on you. Somebody lied to you, so you need to just go home and, drink some tea and go to bed. But you also got to be careful, because you can't tell somebody that they're wrong about their experience. So it's not about being wrong about the experience, but it is also about realizing when somebody's taking advantage of you. So be really careful. Anyway. The auric field is a type of, it's not just a manifestation of the energetic assimilation of who you are as a spirit, right? It also protects you. So it's almost like a barrier that protects the core of your spirit that sits right in your heart, right in your chest. So things, just like your physical body, you'll walk out and maybe you'll catch a cold, or you'll catch something else out in the world, and you got to be careful, and then you get to find a way to nurse yourself back to health, however that looks. The spiritual body is no different. It goes out into the world, and sometimes you could just be walking down the street and something might just right on you, depending on how you've taken care of your energetic body. Is it healthy? Have you been making sure that everything is nice and strong? Have you been gritting and making sure that you're protected, that kind of thing? So if you're not paying attention, and you know, and maybe in your life you wanted to kill yourself, or you did drugs, or you drank a lot, or you just have a lot of negative thoughts, those can create cracks and all kinds of things, and it can attract things that just want to eat. They're hungry, they want to eat, and those types of things get to come off, and you get to figure out how to do that. But they can also create physical illnesses, which is why I brought this up to begin with, because we were talking about extracting parasites from the body. Sometimes you have parasites in the body because of what you attracted in your auric field. So if, let's say you have something that's attached here, and it's just, and please, it doesn't mean it has a personality. It doesn't mean it was a ghost. Sometimes it's just energy. And sometimes it's just hungry. Sometimes a parasite is it's not very smart. It just has it's just doing something. It can bring you acne. It can create diseases. You know, it can make you sick sometimes. So you got to be really careful. But as long as you're doing maintenance, just like everything else, you'll be fine. Just, you know, do your meditations, practice a lot of self-love. You know, energetically cleanse your aura, do those types of things. And there's a lot of different ways to do it, and it's no problem. And you'll keep your spiritual body healthy. What do you think, Witney?
Hey, you know, I'm on board for this, but you know, that's part of what led me to you, because I felt like there was stuff on me I couldn't get off myself.
Right,
And I needed to find someone um, that could tell me the truth if there was or not, or if there was something else going on.
right.
Um, you know, so um, I think those feelings are valid
Oh
when
yeah,
people have them, but you need to explore what they really are. And then you have to find a qualified person that you can talk to and figure out how to move through it. But there's definitely so much to this world that doesn't meet the eye and that we aren't taught. And so I think that comes back to why you and I do these lives, is we want to help people who are having these experiences and they don't know where to turn, or they're wondering if, you know, if they're losing their mind for feeling this way or thinking this way, and they aren't at all. They're totally valid. And there's ways that they can get it off them. They can shake it off, that they can move through this. They can, you know, improve their physical, emotional, spiritual, etheric bodies. It's possible. They don't have to be stuck with something that doesn't feel right on them or within them.
absolutely. And that's why we're talking about it. It's you're not alone, and you're not crazy. So
Mm-hmm.
if you feel like something is going on out here and you're not really sure what it is, you know, you are a spirit. So if you're noticing something, chances are there's something in your auric field. It happens, it's really common. I mean, there's constantly things stuck in people's auric fields. And Whitney's right. I mean, you not everyone understands or can notice these things on their own. They need to be told. And you get to find somebody that you can trust to tell you, and just extract it and not try to take you for $1 million. You know, it's just it shouldn't cost that. It's just maintenance. So if it's about, okay, let's cleanse the field, let's get rid of all the stuff so that you can be refreshed and renewed. And sometimes it's more serious depending on what happened in your life. So if you went through some sort of tragedy, or some sort of cathartic event where a huge crack ended up in your auric field, and you're still repairing it emotionally and mentally, and your spirit is just feeling really wounded from it all, that can attract things to feed, because it's a way to get in, and it's a weakness in the field. So, but no, it happens to a lot of people. So you're right. I mean, we get to make sure that we're supporting people in understanding, hey, listen, you're not alone. It happens to a lot of people, and you can get rid of it, and it's okay. That there's just certain things that you get to do in order to maintain your spiritual health, and if you do
Yes.
that, you're going to be fine.
Yes, I consider myself working with you on just monthly maintenance of that invisible shield, just like working with a chiropractor and making sure everything physically in the body stays balanced. Just like working with myself as a health supportive chef, or if you work with nutritionists, making sure that your diet stays balanced balanced and supportive in the body. So we have all these different layers to us, and it all requires maintenance.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Exactly. So,
can't, yeah, it's none of these things can just go on auto. You have to be mindful of all the different layers and take care of them. So, so you can stay in this vessel at optimal levels as long as you want.
yeah, no, exactly. And so, and that's with all four of your bodies. So the spiritual body is one. We talked about the physical, and then the mental, emotional body is just as important to keep healthy. So it's like you get to check in with yourself emotionally to make sure that you're honoring your own feelings, that you're keeping judgment out of your life, that you're loving yourself and others unconditionally. There's a lot of things to keep all of the bodies healthy, you get to do different things. And then they all interconnect. They all interconnect, they all interweave. And it's that interweaving that's the secret sauce, really, in maintaining optimum health, but also getting to where you get to go in this lifetime so that you feel whole and complete and satisfied with who you are. At that point, it doesn't matter where you are, who you're with, what job you have, how much money you have. It's like I feel perfectly content exactly where I am, who I am at all times, because I have done the work on all my four bodies all at the same time, and they're all in balance and in harmony with each other.
That sounds like bliss.
It is. It is. It's really, really important. So, I like to check in a little bit with some of the things that happened to me during the week with my clients, and one of the themes this week that came through more than once had to do with paranormal activity in the home. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that with people. At one point I started making a YouTube video about that kind of thing, and I thought, well, I wonder if people would actually be interested in that, because mostly I talk about consciousness on the videos. Oh, Witney says yes, she wants to hear about it. So why does it happen is one of the questions really that people ask me most often. Like, why is this even happening? Why is it happening in my home? So one of the more common reasons that it happens has to do with if there's a teenager in the home and they're going through all their hormones. They create this incredible surge of energy through just their consciousness alone, because they're having so much growth, and there's so much emotional energy that's happening that it can literally create paranormal events. So that's one of the things that I find really interesting. I have a dear friend of mine that where her paranormal activity in her home is so incredible that the things that happens in her house, she literally, she had a cup, a clean coffee cup, a big one, and a spoon. And this is just one of the things, one of many things. I'm just going to describe this one. She was in the kitchen and she was watching it happening. And you must understand, there was no breeze. There was no air conditioning blowing. This is a heavy metal spoon in a ceramic cup. And she was watching the spoon lift up all the way where it was balanced and then go back down. There was nothing in the cup other than the spoon. And it would go up and it would go down. And she kept thinking to herself, how do I grab my phone and record this? But the brave soul that she is, instead, she slowly took her hand and she reached out for the cup and she tried to touch it. And the second she touched the spoon, it dropped and it was over with. But it lasted.
Amazing.
Yeah, it lasted for about a minute and a half. But for her, that's really normal in her house. The types of things that she experienced. She experienced paintings flying off the walls, and she experienced all kinds of other things. But anyway, wow. So, but why would it happen in a house like that instead? So, and it could be a number of different reasons. Sometimes it has to do with who you are in this lifetime, right? Spirit guides that you might have getting your attention. or relatives that are trying to, that have passed on, trying to get your attention.
Yeah.
And sometimes it has to do with the land that the house was built on and what happened there previously.
Yes.
What do you think, Whitney?
I'm on, I'm on, and I'm in agreement with all of it. Funny enough, you and I have been talking, and I've been seeing lots of shadows in different places. Um, that sometimes startling, and I've shared them with you, or voices. The most recent one for me was just a few nights ago. I woke up into the middle of the night with 4 extremely loud knocks right next to my ear,
Oh my,
where it was the middle of the night. No one was knocking anywhere around me. It was so strong and significant. Um, so obviously I took that as the one of the interpretations that you mentioned, where it's like a loved one that's past trying to get your attention.
right.
Is I knew it was from a loving space. Um, but man, it was specifically 4 knocks, and it scared the shit out of me.
Oh
I
my,
woke up I woke up startled and actually really scared. And then realizing, you know what? It's just somebody in my family trying to get my attention. I'll figure it out. But you know what? It's so nice that people are finally talking about this, because 5 years ago, this was happening to tons of people. This was happening to me 5 years ago, and I had nobody to talk to. This was happening to me 10 years ago when I was living in Washington, D.C., and I had nobody to talk to, and it's lonely. You just need a friend to mention it to, or you need somebody to talk it out with so you can figure out the message.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes, I mean, that sounds like an authentic experience, but sometimes, uh, people will decide that they hear sounds in their house and they'll make it into an experience that it's not. So there gets to be a lot more discernment in spirituality than there currently is. And,
Yes.
so it's not just, let's not just jump to, hey, it's a ghost right away. And too many times that happens. And I just don't agree with that way of thinking. Am the, I'm a skeptic for sure. And I always rule out everything else. And the very last thing I come to is, well, maybe it's paranormal. I've gone to a lot of houses. I've cleansed them. I've seen a lot of stuff. And I can tell you, a lot of people will make up a lot of stories about what they think is going on in their house because they want to believe something is going on there. I'm extremely supportive, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that there are moments where it is, and there's moments where it's just your fridge, because fridges make noises sometimes.
They
Sometimes,
do.
sometimes the pipes in your walls are going to be loud. Sometimes the noises that you're hearing is coming up through the pipes and it's coming from somebody else's house, and so on and so forth. But
And
there are,
animals land on the roof. Sometimes people hear things walking on the roof and they think it's a person or an energy, and it's just a bird, it's just a raccoon, it's somebody's cat.
right. Right. And sometimes animals get in the walls and they don't know how to get out and they make a lot of scratching sounds and, and there's all kinds of things that happen. But too quickly, people will jump to, well, obviously it's a ghost and it's trying to kill me, or something like that, just because people fear the unknown. So when it comes to spirituality and shamanism and everything like that, healthy discernment is really important. You got to rule out everything else, because that's what gives spirituality a bad name right now. People have this tendency to, they'll believe in anything as opposed to being discerning. And then, the outside camp will say, well, I don't even want to even go into that camp because look how gullible they are. They believe in everything. Now, that doesn't mean that things don't actually happen. I live on a property where there's 5 acres around me, and sometimes sounds will come up. Sounds travel up the hills pretty easily, but it's usually dead quiet out here. And I actually live on ancient Indian burial ground. They built houses all along where I'm at, and there was a lot of Indians that lived here for a very long time. And before I even knew that, before I even did that research and discovered that, we would see uh, native Indians looking in our windows and just staring at us while we slept. And we'd wake up seeing them. And we thought, well, that's interesting. I never felt afraid because I don't, not that thing, that kind of thing doesn't scare me because of the type of job that I have. But I always found it interesting. And then we would hear sounds, and it would sound like Native Americans.
Mhm.
And so then
Okay,
we did the
so
research,
interesting.
and there it was.
So my high school, I think I mentioned this to you, but my high school, I went to Laguna Beach High School. That was built on the Indian graveyard for this area in Southern California. That's the hill where the high school was built, was the graveyard. And they knowingly built the high school on the Indian graveyard.
Yep.
And then my elementary school that I went to in San Diego was also built on the Indian graveyard. They preserved part of the graveyard. So when you pulled into the parking lot at my elementary school, the graveyard was right there. You could see it. You could see all
Wow.
the headstones. And then the rest of the graveyard was underneath the school.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I find it very interesting that throughout California, they knowingly built homes and schools on these graveyards. It's very fascinating.
My high school in Canada was like that. They had left a little graveyard right in front, and I think it was only two or three tombstones, but you could walk up to it and look at it. And I think the rest of the graveyard was just, the school was just built right on top of it.
Yeah, it's so I mean what are the odds that two of the schools that I would go to in my lifetime were built on graveyards? I mean, that's very odd.
It is. And what did you notice in this? Did you notice anything in the school or?
So it's really interesting. So my elementary school, I only went there for first grade, and it was horrible. The children were incredibly mean. I still talk about it with my parents. It's probably one of the worst years of my life. I was 6 years old. Very small school, so there was only one grade, one class per grade, probably about 15 students in my first grade class, and the kids were just very mean and angry. We were 6 years old. There's no reason for you to be mean and angry at 6 years old. And the only people that would be my friend was a girl that was a year older than me that was in a wheelchair, and the girl that would push the wheelchair. They were the only girls that would, those were the only people that'd be nice to me. Even the teacher was mean to me.
Oh,
So it was a very negative school. That was the energy that was happening there. However, the Indian graveyard is also in the valley and on the land where the last war between Indians and the United States and state of California took place. So the last Indian war in the state of California took place on the land and in the valley where the school was. Plus, there was the graveyard.
wow.
So
Wow.
I don't know if that contributed to why these people were so angry. Maybe the anger wasn't them. But if you're an elementary school teacher or a sixth grader, I mean, what do you really have to be angry about?
Well, no, but that's a good point because I mean, oh my gosh. It's just local spirits are a big deal when it comes to your personal well, especially where you live, or where you frequent. So if it's a school and you're learning and you're constantly kind of focusing and or zoning out, I mean, the spiritual world would feed so much on all of those teenager bodies and or even preteen or children's, because there's just their synapses are completely lit up, so they're on fire already, so that level of their consciousness would be delicious. But as far as angry spirits is concerned, there are definitely there's a lot of value and importance in placating the local spirits and keeping them happy and satisfied, so that not only do you have a peaceful existence in your home, but also because they will be supportive of other things that are going on around you, and warn you of things that you might be in danger of, or protect you from things that might be dangerous. So it's something to consider with, just depending on what kind of spirituality you're into. If you're not into that kind of thing, that's okay. It's just an aspect of it that people never talk about. So,
well, one thing that I find interesting, which is maybe why I was in that environment and I stayed light and happy and joyful and in my own little bubble, is when the school and the Indian graveyard was presented to me by my parents, they were so excited for me to be on that land because it's part of my family history. I'm the type of Indian that is from that part of California. The tribe that my 8 times great grandmother was in is who lived there. So my dad was so excited for me to be living on the land where, so many generations ago, my family lived too. And that I was going to be next to a graveyard, which he felt like, I was going to be next to my ancestors, and what a blessing. So it was presented to me as a blessing to get to be this close to these souls that have passed in this land. And so I had a very different experience internally. Despite the mean people around me, I was still a happy little girl.
wow, good for you.
Isn't that interesting? I don't know.
Yeah, and it's so we're talking about spirits that are connected to the land and how they can affect people in that way. But what about the spirits that connect themselves to people? So there's, and sometimes that has to do with possession, which is extraordinarily rare, by the way. But there are different levels. It is because but there are levels. Okay, so full on possession, like demonic possession, is extremely rare. It's not. You see it a lot in the movies, but it's not something that that happens every day. Now, with that being said, there's all kinds of things that will attach itself to you and feed on you that is very lesser than that, a lesser degree, a lesser quality, all the way down to just a simple life form that's feeding and eating. So, and a lot of these things you might not even notice, but once it gets to a certain caliber or certain strength, or there's enough of them that are on you, you're going to notice it's going to start affecting your health. And sometimes they get into the realm of, hey, they're reasonably intelligent. They can get into your mind and they can start manipulating you. All right. But that's not demon level either. That's not possession. That's a certain kind of parasitical thing that will feed on you. That's different.
Got it.
Full on possession is when your consciousness is completely taken over. You have absolutely no control over your body anymore. You're speaking Latin if it's an old school demon, that kind of thing. That's a completely different level. So that itself is rare. Now, things feeding on you and, messing with your consciousness, yeah, that happens a lot, but it's not the same thing. So go ahead. You were going to say something.
No, it's so funny that you brought this up because I was looking at this one celebrity on social media today, and not someone I usually think of or look at. And I was scrolling through their feed and all their images were very dark.
Interesting.
Very, very dark. And this celebrity has a history of extreme drug abuse. It's kind of hidden, but they have a history of extreme drug abuse. And so when I was seeing all these really, what I was reading as and interpreting as kind of depressing and negative photos that they were putting on their feed to express themselves, it made me feel like how sad that there must be something attached to them that's supporting them in this downward spiral.
Right.
Now, is it possible to be able to see if something's attached to someone through photos?
Yes. If the right type of person is observing, yes. So an empath can usually see it. A psychic who knows what they're doing can see it. But in order to see it, they get to have that specific gift. Being able to see being able to see things through photos is a specific kind of gift. Not everyone can do it, but if sensory, that type of sensory is a part of your psychic gift or a part of your intuitive empathic gift, then yes, you can. But
what about people that have a very intense drug addiction? Does
aha,
that usually mean something is attached to them?
I,
Or is that truly, are those addictions truly choice?
that's that's a really good question, and I would say sometimes it just depends on the person. It just depends on how their life went, really. So in some cases, uh, if you have a strong enough thing attached to you, it actually can encourage a drug addiction. It would want you to. It would want you to suffer. It would, depending on why it was created, because not all of these things that attach to people are human. Sometimes it's just an energetic assimilation of something that was created on this planet and then from somebody's deeds or actions, and maybe it was dark. But it's not always a person. In fact, most of the time it's not a person. It's just something that was manufactured or created, and it's hungry and it needs to eat. And part of our deal about living here is that we have another side, which is the other side of the veil, and all kinds of things are happening over there, and it's just as complex as the world we live in. But we in order for us to stay in balance, we must have that other side, and they are on the other side. Part of the reason why they're on the other side is because they're products of the things that we're creating and manifesting in this life with our consciousness, with our deeds and actions and our words. So sometimes the things that are being created are quite beautiful, and sometimes they're quite ugly. It just depends on what humanity chooses to do. And because humanity is obsessed with dark on the side, just because at the core of who they are, they're light, so they're kind of obsessed with the opposite of who they are, and they become addicted to that, then a lot of crazy things get created on the other side of the veil, and they like to eat. And a lot of the time, these types of things will be manufactured and eat according to how they were created in the first place. So, as an example, if the person that created, or if depending on how the thing was created, let's say it was created by somebody's really bad evil deed, maybe this person was a rapist, maybe this thing will only feed on people who had sexual trauma. And maybe that's how it'll get its food. Or if somebody was beating somebody to death with something, maybe whatever was created as an energetic output on the other side of the veil will only feed on people who have a tendency for violence and want to promote that, or people who have been abused by violence and like to torture them and continue to eat. So that's part of it too. It's kind of a strange little world over there.
So, what's one thing that all of us can do after listening to this conversation today to kind of protect ourselves energetically? Is there one thing that we should all do every day or once a week to protect ourselves?
There is something really simple that I learned from my spiritual master that trained me and this is a very strong, heavy duty thing that you can use. I'll give you guys the strongest, and I'll give you guys lighter versions of what you could also use on a daily if you don't want to go that strong. But it's called the Black Pyramid, and the Black Pyramid is something that you can visualize around yourself. So you could be standing, and it can be around you. It can be around a building. You can put it on your family. You could put it in somebody in another country. So it's not. It doesn't just have to be around you. It can be around everyone if you want it to be. And it's so dark in this pyramid, you can't even see your hand in front of your face. But on the outside is all mirrors. So anything that would come at you would just see its own reflection and go straight back to the Godhead or wherever it came from. And it would never affect you. But anything that is of the highest love and light can enter because it can see through the dark, basically. So that's the concept. So you would imagine, it's called a grid, and you would imagine this grid around you to protect you. And I know that you used that, Witney, in a situation, and you found it to be highly valuable when you applied it.
Yes.
Yes. So it was one of those things where whatever was happening to you had disappeared in that moment, which was really good. And that was a really, it's nice to have that kind of confirmation that something like that works. Because I remember, I'm not going to go into details, but you were going through something, and you were in a situation where you were subject to a lot of energy that wasn't so great, and you didn't know how to protect yourself. And so I gave you the grid, and the day it worked, you sent me a text and said, "Oh my God, it's working, and I feel so much better."
Well, the number one thing that I learned from that experience is actually that these protection methods are great band-aids, but ultimately you need to remove yourself from that situation. That's the lesson I wish I would have gotten to faster is it's a great tool for when you're in those moments, but ultimately you need to find a way to not be in those environments. They're not meant for you, and then they aren't meant for me.
Right.
But thank you for helping me get there in my own time.
No, of course, yeah. And as an act of self-love, Whitney's right. You get to pull yourself out of the situations that are harmful to you. It's just, it's not worth it as an act of self-love. And you get to surround yourself with people that you want to become, or that you want to be more like, so that they can teach you and help you grow. And you really are the product of your environment. So
You are, yes. And I want to be around people that raise me up or make me want to be a better version of myself or that I can learn from or I'm proud to be associated with. Um, just little reminders, that you get to choose the people you're around and the environments that you're in.
no, absolutely. Absolutely. I know that for some people, and I know that there's going to be always going to be somebody to argue, well, I'm trapped in this situation. I can't get out. And I've seen it and I've heard it a lot. And sometimes
Yeah.
financially it doesn't make sense, or, they simply can't because of something that's going on with their family, and that's understandable. And I have a lot of empathy for that. So I would say if you're in that type of situation, the best thing you can do is, you know, create whatever you can for yourself to keep yourself as safe as possible, and try to create moments where you're pulling yourself out of that, and be resourceful and doing everything you can and getting out. So, because sometimes it's just about gambling everything and just getting out so that you can start over, so you can have a life that's worth living, because you only have this one life. And if you're stuck there, do you really want to be there for the rest of your life? It's time to get out. So just, it's a hard choice to make, but sometimes you just got to do it. Right.
Beautifully said. You're a great teacher and a
Oh,
positive light.
you're so sweet. And I know I talk about some pretty crazy things sometimes,
No,
but
not at all. I
well,
mean, these are all you do is create a space where people can talk about all the things that are happening in their reality that, you know, they feel like aren't normal, but they're experiencing them. So, you know,
well, yeah, it's true. And the spiritual body is a very difficult thing to understand. And there's some very basic concept and ideas of what it is and what it means. And it's very elementary. There isn't a lot of real information out there as far as what it truly means to have a spiritual body. Your spiritual body is you. And it's so complex. It's not the simple, like, oh, I've been cursed. Oh, I'm this. And I saw a light and now I'm scared. That kind of thing. It's but unfortunately, and it's not. And I'm not bashing anyone that feels that way. What I am saying is that we haven't developed a way for people to get real information so they feel safe, and that really bothers me because, because the spiritual body is so complex. There's a lot to know. And
I know.
if you have the information, then you'll be able to kind of push through that and get to know who you truly are in this lifetime while you're still alive, and maybe you can enjoy the effulgence of that. But if you're kept in the dark, how are you going to find out? And who's going to tell you? It's just, it's kind of unfair, because then, people will take advantage of you out in the world when you want to learn about your spiritual body, and no one wants that. So I'm just going to do everything I can to keep pushing out information so that people can be educated, and hopefully that supports some people. That's all I can do.
Well, thank you for being a a fair and honest teacher and providing this forum where people can learn for free. Um, I look forward to you doing some retreats and some, speaking and training on a larger scale.
Well, thanks. And we should talk about that a little bit. So I know that you've had some serendipitous things that were going on all week about
Yeah.
retreats, and I know that we've been wanting to. We're planning and foraging for our retreats for the very near future, and I'd love to hear because you haven't actually told me yet. I'd love to hear some of the things that have happened to you this week.
Well, for everyone that's listening that has stayed on and have gotten to this part of our conversation, leave a comment in the notes below. Let us know if you'd like to see Shamananda and I lead a retreat in Laguna Beach, California, Ojai, California, Idlewild, California, or Sedona, Arizona. Or is there a place that we should be looking into that you think would be a wonderful environment to spend 3 or 4 days to raise your vibration and bring a little clarity and strength to your intuition and consciousness? Um, but for me, I've had a lot of synchronicities and links, and people reach out about doing a retreat in Sedona and in Idlewild. And I know that you've had wonderful energetic experiences in both those locations. Those are very high vibration locations, a great way to kind of pull energy up into you from the land. Um, I've only been to Sedona. I haven't been to Idlewild. I'd love to know your thoughts on either of those locations.
Wow, Idlewild is a very special little mecca that's almost like a secret little mecca of spirituality that I'm almost afraid to talk about because it's so beautiful and perfect. Uh, it has these incredible boulders there, some wonderful hiking spots, and these rolling hills where they have these quaint homes that are all they're all very different from each other, and they were all uniquely built, and they look like a lot of them look like little cabins and things like that. It's a beautiful spot to go and have just a weekend away. But the energy itself is so pure and so beautiful. And if you're looking to recharge spiritually, I mean, that's a really nice place to go. It feels really good, and I think it would be ideal for a retreat because it's almost like walking into a hug. It has a very
Wow.
snug, warm, comforting, safe feeling to it. So that place, it's just a jewel of a place, and the people that live there that I've experienced were all so wonderful and kind. I did stay there in an Airbnb, and the owner was just she was just so wonderful, and all of my experiences were really really nice. Even the locally, just I ended up buying a pair of shoes because I needed a pair of hiking shoes locally, and the guy in the shop had his little boy there, and he was just so kind, and the little boy was so sweet, and it was just I mean, it's just a beautiful community. So I really love that community. Places like Sedona, because of the vortexes that increase the center of power within you, the longer that you maintain, uh, you know, your physical body stays on them, is an incredible place to raise a lot of energy. And through my work, because I don't just speak and answer questions. I do a lot of energetic physical body work. I raise the energy in a room. I support with you feeling different surges through the body, and different types of physical extractions that really support not only with physical, mental, emotional ailments, spiritually you feel very different, uplifted, and it changes you into a person that you enjoy more. Maybe it's a cleansing experience. And actually, Witney, you're because I've done that to you so many times. Maybe you should speak on that. All I can do is speak from a place of doing it. I've never experienced me doing it to myself, so I can't really say. But maybe you can.
Yeah, so the hands-on energy work I briefly touched on that I do with you. I do like basically once a month maintenance with you. So I go to you to keep my energetic body in balance. And so, because what I do as a chef, I'm giving so much of my energy to other people, into their food, into their home, into their environment. And it almost also happens when I do all my podcast episodes. I'm giving so much energy to my guest and into the high vibration living podcast. Doesn't matter how much time I spend meditating or being outside in the sun, I'm a little depleted. And you bring me back to balance and refill my cup of light, is how I feel. That's the experience I have. Balance and a refill of my cup.
Cool.
What do you see when you're working on me? Is that what you see that you're doing, or do you see something else?
Well, I think with everyone it's different. It just depends on the person. So, uh, when it comes to physical body work, it's a whole nother ballgame when it comes to transmutation of energy that shouldn't be in the body. So, uh, there's been experiences where, if one person's soul or their energetic body is speaking a language, and it speaks a language of symbols a lot of the time, so that you understand what you get to do in order to shift a person in the way that they're meant to be shifted, so they can become optimal, really. And it's important to have that communication, because I'm not going to just go in there willy-nilly and say, oh, I guess I'm going to shift this and this and this and this. No, I'm going to be in the asking. I'm going to say, okay, so what's going on here? And what does this person need? And sometimes it'll tell me stories of past lives, and sometimes it'll tell me it'll give me a bunch of symbols about what's going on with this person. Sometimes it'll carry a message of what they get to expect in the future, and sometimes it'll be a warning, and sometimes it'll be a celebration of what's to come. It just depends on what's going on with the person at the time, because everyone comes in with something different. So, I mean, I've seen full on, alien manifestations in your body at different times, Whitney, where it told a story, which I found very fascinating. But it just depends on the day. But the symbology has always been really interesting, and and then it's also how the body feels energetically, because there's ley lines of energy that goes through people's bodies, and a lot of the connections in the feet will go from the stomach into the head and to the shoulder, depending on what kind of trauma the physical body might have gone through, or even the mental and emotional, or maybe even the spiritual. It just depends. Like, so if you because of all the chakra systems, it's kind of a long subject, so I'm just going to be as brief as I can, but just with maybe one example. So let's say your journey in life, represented in the feet, was connected to your root chakra and the way you were feeling grounded. And it was also connected to your sacral, how you felt about your parents, relationship. And if I press on a point in your foot, it's not just about a pressure point, but it's about extracting some sort of trauma that happened within a situation that has those elements. You might feel it when I'm pressing on that part of your foot. And you might feel it come out, and then you might feel that your stomach feels better, and it has nothing to do with the pressure points. It has to do with how it's being adjusted, as an example. But it's a very difficult thing to completely explain. It would take me hours, which I'm happy to do, but maybe we can do it in bite-sized pieces over time.
Well, when I listen to you talk about your body work that you do with people, and how you adjust it specifically to what they need, it makes me think about, when you read in magazines and online, and I think we've heard about this for millennia, where celebrities or extremely wealthy people always keep a numerologist around. They always keep a astrologer around. They always keep some sort of spiritual practitioner around, working with them. We also know there's been a lot of celebrities that always have some sort of spiritual practitioner on set with them, supporting them through a film process. That's how I feel when I chat with you sometimes in these conversations, that I just want to be a billionaire so I can have you around all the time, just for the sheer pleasure of you and what you constantly teach.
Oh, well, that's very kind. I definitely, when I do work with celebrities, and if I'm on, you know, if I was on set with them, or if, just depending on where I'm at, I'm pretty I stay pretty quiet anyway, because a lot of the time they don't want anyone to know how I'm supporting them. And that's because sometimes I deal with very delicate situations depending on who it is and what's going on. So, but yeah, it's definitely been offered. But I like to serve as many people as I can. So I
I know.
can't be a kept woman.
I know, but I just, I'll feed you.
Oh, well, there you go. And Whitney's food is worth having, which of course, at our retreats, she's going to be the one cooking the food, and making sure that it's completely in alignment with the healing. Because if you're going to heal at a retreat, if the
Yes.
food doesn't resonate, like the food is almost half of it,
The
because
food is the foundation, right? Like we got to build the foundation, before we can build the structure. We got
yeah,
to get the foundation right. Like if you look at the way you build anything in the world, you start with the structural engineer and you create the foundation, and then you can build anything on top. So use your food and your diet as your foundation. And then you can do anything with your body and your mind from there.
it's so important. Because we're healing all four bodies at the same time, and so part of the perfect balance with the physical isn't just about movement. It's not just about breath work. It's not just about yoga or maybe even dancing, that kind of thing. But it's really about what you're putting into your body. Oh my God, it's so important when you're healing yourself in a few days, if it's a week, if it's a weekend, that you're really nourishing yourself, not just with high quality, high vibrational foods, where it's, humanely sourced and it's mindfully sourced, and it's also about the preparation and how it's being prepared, and you know the mindfulness that's put into the food itself. I mean, Witney sings to the food. She tells the food she loves it, and she
I
nurtures it
do.
like a friend.
I do. I talk to it the whole day long. When I was cooking at my clients yesterday, um, they have two sinks in their kitchen, and one of the sinks was backed up, and they had a plumber there. They actually had three plumbers there. And, I totally forgot that they were there. And I started talking to the food and talking to the cinnamon and talking to the pantry. And I just had to like give them a heads up, apologize. This is my secret ingredient. I talk to the food. It helps it perform better. And they laughed, but I honestly suggest try doing it. You'll have a lot more fun in the kitchen.
And the food loves it. Let's face it, the food loves it. And we love
Well,
the food.
cooking should be fun. Eating should be fun. It's just food. People are really stressing about it these days. We got to lighten up. It's just food. Have fun with it. There's no right way. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just enjoy the process and
Yeah.
enjoy the consumption.
I think that's a good rule of thumb with a lot of things, especially uh, when it comes to everything else too. Enjoy the process with your physical body. Enjoy the process with experience joy with your emotional and mental state, and your spiritual body gets to experience that joy too. So give it what it needs, whatever that is. So if it's meditation, if it's being out in nature, if it's going sitting in the grass at a park with your feet, and enjoying the sun, do it. Just make sure that you're feeding all parts of you, not just your stomach.
I
So
love that.
yeah. Well, we could probably talk all night, and we probably would if I wasn't saying, hey, it's almost 9 o'clock and we should probably call it. But I just wanted to say from the bottom of my heart, I absolutely love you all. If there's one thing that I've been overwhelmed with, has been uh, the incredible graciousness of the YouTube community. I've been really taken aback with how much love and support has been thrown my way. through your comments and through your outreach. Thank you. I honestly never expected that. I wasn't sure what to expect. I always thought that maybe going on YouTube, I would get a lot more hate, and I haven't got any at this stage at all. Actually, not a single comment has been hateful. I I have no words. I'm just so grateful that I'm finding people that actually enjoy listening to and are getting something out of what I have to say and what Witney has to say and other people have to say on my channel. And I'm just really grateful to serve you guys and to give you anything that could be useful in your lives. But help me out and make sure that you let me know if there's anything you'd like us to talk about so we can support you, because that's why we're here. We don't necessarily like just listening to ourselves talk. We want to actually support you with what you need. So if there's a topic, if there's a situation, if there's a question, just, please just let us know and we can support you. And that would make us very, very happy. So please do so in the comments below, and we'll go from there, and then we'll address it in the next live. So we're live every Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If we're running a few minutes behind, forgive us. Sometimes we get to talking before we hit the live button. I hope that's okay. But a lot of the time we run right on time. But anyway, Witney, always.
I second everything you said. It's such a pleasure getting to chat with you, learn with you and from you. And I really hope anyone listening does leave comments and let us know what you'd like to learn, what you're curious about, and also where you'd like to see our retreats so we can better serve you, because that's what it's really all about.
Absolutely. And we can't wait to meet you in person and hug you. If you, I hope you're a hugger. I'm a hugger. I love you guys. I hope you have a good night. Or whenever you're watching this, it might be in the morning, it might be whenever, because after it's live, it's just going to be you guys watching a recording. But and if that's the case, then I'll see you in the next one. And namaste. So blessed and grateful. And until next time, thanks for listening.